Welcome everybody. This is the Bidders Conference for Veterans Seniors Human Services Levy Countywide Information and Referral Request for Proposals. And before we begin to do introductions and other pieces, I just wanted to acknowledge that anytime that we do county work and anytime we're on lands that are in King County, we are on the unceded traditional lands of the First Peoples of Seattle, the Duwamish and the Coastal Salish people. So we want to honor those people past and present and appreciate and honor with gratitude the use of this land and thank those in the past and those in the present and who will come in the future for the use of this unceded land that we are sitting on today and doing this business on today. With that, I would like to start with introductions and then we'll walk through the agenda. I'll start with introductions of the county staff and then ask the folks in the room to introduce themselves, and then we'll acknowledge the people on the phone so that you're not talking over each other, and introduce yourselves. So I'm Tracy Adair. I'm the lead for the seniors team of the group in the Adult Services Division of the Department of Community and Human Services at King County. That our group is putting forth this request for proposal. It covers all of the populations in the levy, so we will probably collaborate with our other teammates when an award is created, and the awardee may be working with other folk on the Adult Services Division through this funding opportunity. And here in the room with me, handling the technology, is Adam.
Hello.
And taking notes today is Ricky.
Hello, everybody.
And there are 6 participants in the room, so let's start with here and introduce yourselves, and then we'll go on the phone.
My name is Lauren Riggert. I'm the Senior Director of Development and Community Relations for Crisis Connections.
I'm Lisa Watanabe, and I'm a project manager at Healthier Here.
I'm Sandy Farkas. I'm Chief Operating Officer for Easter Seals, Washington.
Will Tosgren, Government Affairs Contracts Coordinator for Solid Ground.
I'm Alex Weeks.
And I'm Mary Snodgrass from Public Health Seattle County, sister agency to VSHSL, and just here to learn.
Adam, can you tell us who is on the phone so that they can introduce themselves without stumbling?
Yeah. Joe, aside from Ricky and myself, we have Barb Smith on the phone. Barb, I see you're muted right now, but if you want to unmute yourself and tell us or introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Hi, Barb Smith. I'm representing CISC.
And Barb, can you hear us pretty easily?
Yes, thank you.
All right. That's all on the phone.
And CISC is?
Chinese Information and Service Center.
Thank you. And if I tend to lump acronyms, so people raise your hand or on the phone you can do your hand raising as well if I start acronizing.
And I just noticed we had actually one person just join while Barb was speaking. They just are listed as guest. Would you, if you're on the phone, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, this is Lalita Uppala, Executive Director, India Association of Western Washington. Thank you.
Lalita Uppala with IAWW, or India Association. Thank you, Lalita.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, we will cover today in this bidders conference what is the Veterans, Seniors, and Human Services Levy, an overview of this strategy, an overview of the particulars of the RFP, the acknowledgement that technical assistance is available for small groups applying for this, quick review of Zoom grants, our friend, and any questions and answers, noting that in addition to the recording of this bidders conference and the PowerPoint being uploaded to the RFP site, questions asked today and throughout the open period until the end of questioning will be posted on a regular basis uploaded. And if, just a note that if you are plugged in as an applicant, then you will get the notification of those questions. Otherwise, you can just go in and check on a regular basis when they get to see if they're posted. That's how it works with Zoom grants. And I'm going to break the rules of PowerPoint and pretty much read these slides because in a bidders conference, I want to make sure that the information is shared equally. So apologies ahead of time for any public speaking experiences people have. What is the Veterans, Seniors, and Human Services Levy? As many of you in the room know, and hopefully on the phone, this was a levy that was passed by voters of King County in 2017. It's a 6-year property tax levy that started in the transition year of 2018 and runs through December 2023. It assesses 10 cents per $1,000 value and is estimated, expected to accrue $55 to $65 million annually, which is dispersed through several strategies. It replaces what was formerly the Veterans and Human Services Levy by bringing on the new specific population of seniors. VSHSL implementation plan passed in 2018 and includes services in 5 result areas for 3 priority populations. The 3 priority populations are veterans, service members and their families, seniors and their unpaid caregivers. And in the case of the levy, a senior is indicated as somebody 55 and older, and that's in recognition of the differences in health disparities among different populations and acknowledging that several populations have less access to health care and have more barriers, and so aging experiences may begin earlier than in other populations. And then vulnerable populations, which are folks that have challenges in access to health care for a variety of reasons. The 5 areas of the levy are housing stability, financial stability, social engagement, healthy living, systems access, and improvement. The guiding principles for all 5 of those strategy areas and the 3 populations are connection, belonging, and specifically what can only the VSHSL do. So when there are federal or state or local dollars that are serving services, where can the levy dollars come in to leverage or support or provide services that other dollars cannot provide? One of the guiding principles for the levy is equity and social justice, and our overarching goal is to ensure that all people, regardless of where they live and who they are, have the opportunity in King County to thrive with full and equal access to opportunity, power, and resources. So the underlying components of the levy are based on those principles. For this particular strategy, we're reaching all 3 populations. So this strategy is in the implementation plan because we acknowledge that the benefits of a centralized technology-based county-wide information and referral program is important, and it's important for people to be able to seek information about where and how to access human services supports across the county. It also envisions the possible deepening of connection and referral programs through a system that works with a consortia of collaborators with an identified lead agency that may be funded to plan and collaborate on the execution of a King County community information exchange. So we'll talk a little bit about those 2 different pieces in just a moment. The reason that this funding is in the levy is because we acknowledge that seeking assistance can be complicated when there are several different information referral sources or when access to information is decentralized, fragmented, and very many different sources to navigate. Veterans, seniors, and people from vulnerable populations should be able to quickly and simply understand options for support to make informed choices about whether and how they can respond to challenges and barriers in their And in turn, human services programs can also benefit from connected systems of information and referral that help get the right clients to the right entities in time to provide timely interventions. So this is an individual and systems approach. Here's really small words. Sorry about that. So through this acknowledgement that we definitely need to either establish or continue a county-wide information and referral source that reaches all three populations, there are two options in this RFP for applications. The RFP will procure the program area described in the implementation plans, strategy, systems support. SS stands for systems support. And it's strategy number 2B, Countywide Information Referral. And the awards will either fund one entity to provide centralized, technology-based information and referral services that inform veterans, service members and their respective family members, seniors and their unpaid caregivers, or actually caregivers in general, and other vulnerable populations about services that are potentially available to help people seeking services meet their human services needs and then connect to those needs. That is one possibility for funding. The other possibility is a lead agency partnering equitably with a consortia of agencies to plan for and assist in the development of the King County Community Information Exchange that meets the requirements outlined in the procurement. So the applicant chooses which is most pertinent to their situation. DCHS will review and consider both scopes of work and will award one contract based on the best interest of DCHS and the county. So the applicant has a choice and makes a decision about which statement of work to respond to. Scope of work 1 is the centralized information and referral services. Through this scope of work, the awarded entity will provide comprehensive information on referrals to health and human services in King County through a centralized 24-hour technology-based information and referral service that is accessible to all King County residents, with special attention given to the population served by the VSHSL from anywhere in King County. In the RFP posted online, if you look on page 7 to 8, there are details about this scope of work. Scope of work 2 is the planning and assisting in the development of a King County Community Information Exchange. The awarded entity through this scope of work shall lead a consortia of equitably partnered organizations to develop a King County Community Information Exchange. Work shall be divided into phases, with funding for subsequent phases dependent upon the completion of the first phase. The work associated with each phase will include but not be limited to planning and execution of that plan to stand up or participate fully in a King County Community Information Exchange. And the statement of work on this begins on page 8 and runs through page 10 of the RFP. So available for this funding is up to $1,408,347 is available for the program period. We expect to contract May 1st through and then award through December 31st, 2023. King County contracts are on a biennial basis, and subsequent contracts are dependent on award by the legislature or the King County legislature, but we expect this amount of funding to be available. And this just indicates that subsequent years are contingent upon the approval of the King County Council budget and continued partnerships and provision of data on program performance and implementation. So specifically among the three populations in the levy, service recipients for either program model shall include Medicaid eligible and non-Medicaid eligible, veterans, service members and their families, seniors and their caregivers, whether or not Medicare or Medicaid eligible, and vulnerable populations across King County. So specifically addressing those federal dollar distributions and acknowledging that this award secures referral and information services for anybody regardless of their funding source. So eligibility, nonprofit organizations, community-based organizations, tribes and tribal organizations, public or governmental organizations serving communities in King County. Small nonprofits and community-based organizations are encouraged to submit proposals, in particular in partnership. If an entity is applying as a lead organization under the second scope of work that is eligible for funding under this RFP, that is trying to bring up the King County Community Information Exchange, that organization should submit letters of support from the remaining consortium partners identified in the application so that it's clear that there is a partnership occurring. And more information is available in Section 8, application process. So contract requirements, evaluation is a big component of the levy, and looking at where are we spending our dollars and do these strategies, as the idea behind the strategies, is it working, is it not working? So evaluation, though it's not required that you submit a full detailed evaluation plan, your program must acknowledge and have a model that accounts for the strategy's anticipated performance measures. So just keeping that in mind as you are looking at the application and working on your application. Data collection and reporting is required for any levy strategy, and in particular, data is very important in this strategy. So we're looking at client level data as well as aggregate and narrative reports on a regular basis. So timelines related to this, the RFP was released last week, and today is the bidders conference. We're on the 19th. The final day for small agencies to initiate requests for technical assistance would be February 26th. The final day to submit questions is a week prior to the closing of the RFP, March 9th. So any questions asked prior to March 9th will be addressed through a series of frequently asked questions. Questions asked after the 9th will not be addressed because they're too late for that date. March 16th, midnight, right before midnight, so don't wait till midnight because that'll be closed. So 11:59 on March 16th is the deadline for responses. Review panel will review and rate responses the remainder of March. If there are interviews needed with any entity, those will occur in later March. Anticipate notification of award decision in April with an anticipated very quick timeline around the contract for May 1st. This is an aggressive timeline, but it's one we think we can achieve. But again, dates are subject to change as unexpected cases may happen. Just a reminder that submit proposals by 11:59 March 16th. We strongly encourage you to consider 5 o'clock the deadline, because then Zoom, if there are issues with Zoom Grant, you have better access to the Zoom Grant's technical assistance or our own technical assistance if things are happening. A completed submittal will include responses to the summary questions, responses to narrative questions, budget, and if you're applying for the second scope of work, then letters of support from whichever partners are included in the application, though there will be a lead applicant. So we're going to go over the rating criteria, but I'm just going to remind folks, and I can't remember if I put this in the PowerPoint later, but I just wanted to remind folks that King County has a policy to not respond individually to requests or questions during an RFP process. And so you will, if you submit an email question, which you're encouraged to submit questions through an email, it will come to me and you will receive a automatic reply that says we cannot respond to individual questions. However, your question has been noted and will be uploaded to the frequently asked questions on a regular basis. So any questions asked today will be posted later this week, and then after that, subsequent, just on as questions come in, probably not daily, but on a frequent basis, those will be updated to the frequently asked questions. So in terms of the rating criteria, page 16 of the RFP provides more detail about what we're reviewing, and we will have one set of rating criteria that covers both scopes of work. So you will answer, some of the questions are specific to a scope of work, have a specific, you can answer question A or B depending on the scope of work, and some are together, but the criteria covers both sets of possibilities. Was there?
I think that was next door.
Okay. No, that was so we're looking at organizational background and experience, particularly for providing information referral to all three populations. Program model, does it reach the folks we are intending to reach in an equitable manner, provides equitable access to referrals, equitable access to partnerships if it's the consortia. Equity and social justice being the backbone of the levy. So does the work reach the folks in equitable manner who we want to reach? Budget and fiscal, looking at, in particular, does this budget make sense for what we're asking? And then data and evaluation are particularly specific to this request for proposal. We're looking at some additional data questions that if you've looked at our RFPs in the past, you may not have seen some of these data questions because this is a data specific request. So we're looking at data safety, security, what to do with data in subsequent years if we're working with partners, and how to make sure that secure data is secure, and the questions that we track for folks who are vulnerable, particularly immigrants and refugees, don't cross a line that King County has some pieces around data sharing. Also, kind of noting about the rating criteria, we will review and consider both methods, either scope of work. However, we'll award only one contract based on the best interest of DCHS and the county. Like I said before, criteria covers either scope of work. The final scores will assist in making a determination as to which scope of work to recommend for funding. If a small agency applies, they may be eligible for technical assistance in the application process. All RFP materials, including the frequently asked questions, are posted to Zoom Grants under the library tab. And if this works through here, we will just do a quick view of Zoom Grants. It can have its particulars and its challenges, so it's good to have practice with Zoom Grants prior to applying, and strongly recommend that you provide to submit your work prior to the final day so that you know if you're going to run into any challenges with this platform. And just a reminder that questions submitted today and those in writing will be posted to Zoom Grants. You can find that in the library tab. Oops. Okay, it's not, let me get to Zoom Grants in a different way so that I can show you what it looks like. And then we'll ask questions. So even though these look like they may be quiet tabs that you wouldn't address, those are tabs you actually should address in the process. And so if you toggle over them, you can see them be active. And this library tab is where information will be updated. All the and if you scroll down here, you'll see these tabs and the required documents. You can upload your documents through this required documents tab here. Any other pieces of Zoom grants should I feature?
Just the contact admin tab, I think, is always helpful to highlight where you contact you if I have a question about the RFP.
Contact admin. So all this does is send an email to me that I can't tell comes from Zoom grants, but I will respond to any questions with that automatic reply that I mentioned earlier. Questions in the room, or we'll start with in the room and then we'll go to the phone. Yes.
Hi. How do you envision this working alongside 211?
We would probably take into account what information referral sources and services are out there. If the community we would, I think that this is we are procuring for the services that 211 is providing right now. So depending on the application and the award,
okay,
this would
gotcha.
be the information referral source through what that is funded through the levy.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions in the room or on the phone? Yes, Lisa.
But I saw in the spreadsheet that request budget information, there was 4 tabs for every partner. Is that just for the lead?
That is for thank you for that question. I appreciate that I intended to put a slide on here about the budget. So the budget sheet, we're trying to provide one budget sheet with both that would address both possibilities. So if it's an individual, one organization applying for the information referral, you would fill out just the tab for the one organization. It has 2 tabs. Each organization has 2 tabs. If you're applying for the King County Community Information Exchange, the lead entity would fill out those first 2, and the subsequent partners, and would fill out the budgets for the subsequent partners. Whatever is filled out in any of those several tabs feeds the final tab. You don't have to fill that piece out. It feeds itself based on the roll up of those. So the additional tabs are available for any partnering to record the budget of any partnering organizations. Yes.
For that second approach with the partnerships, is there a way that we could say we'd be interested in partnering with a lead agency and kind of like put our contact information out there?
Through the review as a part of the application, or
yeah, like now in the beginning stages, if the lead agency is thinking about taking that approach and they're looking for partners, and I want to say, call Solid Ground and be interested in chatting, is there like a method through Zoom grants or?
I would probably address that through the frequently asked questions. Okay. And indicate out there that an entity was interested in participating in with a potential lead agency. If that agency wasn't interested or didn't have the capacity to be the lead agency, then the frequently asked questions would be the way to signal the connection to other agencies. I will make a note that if, as we take these questions back, if there are subtle changes or differences in our response based on connections to others, we will address that in the frequently asked questions. Are there questions on the phone?
No one's joined by Skype chat, so there's just whoever talks up first. So speak up if you have a question.
That's good. Thank you, though. I don't have questions. I'll refer to the FAQs if I have any.
All right. Yes.
Ask another budget question. So if there are potentially levels of partnerships, is it possible, so for example, if it were multiple groups equitably working together, yet they each have their own networks of partners, can we roll that up into a...
I would suggest using the narrative to describe the situation and then use the budget sheets to reflect whatever makes most sense in terms of how the partnerships work and how the funding would be distributed. And we have this room until 11, I believe, and I don't know that this will last until 11, so people are welcome to stay in the room and continue conversations if, however, we'll be leaving the room and the room will be available.
But now's the time to get your questions in.
But if you have questions, please ask them now because this will be the way for us to record those questions and put them up. Any other questions? So please expect these materials along with the responses to the frequently asked questions or the questions that are asked today by the later this week. I'm confused about what day it is because I took an extra day off. It's Wednesday, so later this week is really coming up. But by tomorrow or Friday mid-morning, we will have these materials posted, and then on a regular basis until March 9th, we will be posting if there are additional questions. Great. Well, thank you everybody for your patience with our technology and this process and parking downtown if you came in person. King County staff will just wrap this up, and then any additional questions, just use that tab. All right.
Thank you.